Alright, looks like we have a Project Epoch update, a developer update, which they happen about once a month, give or take. But we have the newest one right here. It seems to be mostly the same topic, just revisited in several different areas, which is mostly PvE coding. Except for this area, it's like racials, talks about racials. Over here, it's talking about like not quite itemization. I mean, they do talk a little bit about that, but the main thing here with the picture is fixing the textures. I was thinking of the word. Fixing the textures for the Nightfall axe, for an example. We'll go through all of that here. Reworked the Loremaster achievement. If we scroll down here, this is again more PvE coding, which is also what it starts off with at the beginning of the article. More spell casting, mind control for priests gets changed up a little bit, and all here is just, yeah. Alright, so that's just a quick little tidbit of what this is going to cover. So right here, they're talking about the dungeon difficulty. Now, bear with me because I cover so many different private servers, sometimes they kind of just mesh together for me. So if I remember correctly, Project Epoch is completely recoding all of Blackrock Depths. Like, they took out all of the coding of Blackrock Depths, they recoded it to make it vanilla-like, to make it as it was, just cleaner coding rather than the spaghetti coding, and from there, they will add in new stuff on top of that, especially for the boss battles. Now, right here, they were just giving an example of how the Baelgar fight will go. But they also said right here, please note that since this recording, some changes have occurred to things like ability, lengths, and power, but it shows a rough overview of the difficulty of the content we are aiming for, because they want to make it a, you know, more challenging experience, mainly with the boss battles. In terms of ads, I don't care about the ads that much. I actually wish that the ads were a little bit, you know, just go through them real quick and let's get to the bosses. I'm not saying we want a boss rush, but it's like, yeah, like the outlook, but it's like you take so long on the ads, you know, the whole dungeon's like a 3-hour dungeon, you know what I mean? You just want to get to the meat and potatoes, just skirt around the appetizer. Anyway, and so the racial knowledge. So they've been talking about this for a while, but now they have actually something to, like, show off as an example. So this is basically going to be a way at endgame to learn how to do another race's active racial ability. By active, I mean, like, something that you click and you do an ability, rather than just a passive. So, I didn't watch this video, I'm not really going to watch it, but from the title it says, the undead racial, which is cannibalize, from the Alliance perspective. And then from there, it just gives you some areas of where these kinds of quests will take place. Again, these are quests that you can take on at max level to learn the various racial knowledge and racial abilities as another race. So learning War Stomp as a Night Elf, for an example. So, if we look here, I actually cannot tell where that is, but from this angle here, which I believe it's the same, yeah, it's the same area, oh, I read right here, it's actually from Wetlands. I was gonna guess to see where it was. Yeah, I can believe Wetlands. I was actually gonna say, like, okay, I was gonna say behind Dunmorrow, but that's basically Lochmodan wetland area, but I was close enough to where I was thinking. So, going down here is a different area, given that it's got willow trees, it's a swamp. It's not really that dingy gray color, so probably Swamp of Sorrows. That's what I'm guessing. So, very goblin-esque. I guess this is where you learn the goblin racial, because the other one looked very dwarven, so that's probably where you learn the dwarven. Ah, yeah, Swamp of Sorrows right there. Okay, that's Stone Talon Mountain. I can tell that instantly. So, Stone Talon Mountain, a lot of Tauren stuff, so that's probably where you're going to learn War Stomp. More Tauren stuff, but in a cave? New locale within Stone Talon Mountains. Okay, yeah. They've been doing a lot of Stone Talon Mountain stuff, because that zone has a ton of unused area, and one of these areas that they're going to be utilizing is for an upcoming endgame raid, which is pretty cool. And as of the last beta, you can go to it, but you're probably going to get creamed because there's a lot of enemies on the outside who are elites. Anyway, bugs. That's pretty much saying how they're fixing a bunch of bugs. If you hear a dog, sorry. That was my doggy. Okay, so the itemization. If you remember in our June log, we used data from TBC Classic to bring in proper spell casting for all classes with great accuracy. We're excited to announce that this was utilized again to bring in item spell information from Classic 1.14, which means every spell effect on an item should behave as it did in Classic. So even though that they're using a Wrath of the Lich King client as a base, I think they're trying to go for TBC talents and abilities, but they're gonna go for also vanilla stuff as well. It looks like mostly the spell effects that they're going for. Now, while working on this, one of our developers got distracted with the Nightfall item. This is where that comes into play, which was used for testing. Words. Nightfall had broken textures up until Cataclysm. See, now, I actually did not know that, because I remember Nightfall being the red and black axe, and you just see red and black on the axe. I never knew it was supposed to have a skull on it. Now, the lookalike, which is just a silver steel-looking axe, does have a skull. This is supposed to be the exact same one, just red. So, seeing it with a skull actually looks pretty cool, and I'm surprised that Blizzard never fixed it, but Blizzard is lazy, so these guys managed to actually fix it. And this is the first time I've ever seen a private server, you know, fix something stupid like that. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool in my opinion. Now, the Loremaster rework. So, being that it's a Wrath client, they have the achievement system. Now, Lore Walker achievement meant you had to do so many quests per zone, which generally involved doing all of them, if not most of them. Now, because they have new custom quests, they're going to reconfigure the, what's called the achievement. I literally just said the word and I forgot it again. They're going to reconfigure the achievement to be able to accommodate for all of the new custom quests. So, what is it, right here? Yeah, so here is some examples of what they are going to include and exclude. So, quests that are breadcrumb quests with no follow-ups are excluded. The example is, until death do us part. So it's going to be like, hey, if you're in Everlook, for an example, there's a couple of quests to go to Western Plaguelands. There's a quest to go to Eastern Plaguelands. So those are breadcrumb quests, right? Those are not part of a quest chain. They're just, hey, there's quests over here. Go do those too. So those are excluded. Escort quests inside of larger chains are excluded. The example is From the Hold. Quests from items that aren't guaranteed drops are mostly excluded unless they're iconic. So that means the Demon Scarred Cloak, which drops from Ghost Howl or Ghost Wolf, or I think it was Ghost Howl in Mulgore, who is a rare, and if you kill that rare, he drops an item you can turn in for some bonus experience. Now that's just a one-off quest, bonus, you don't have to do it, so that's going to be excluded. However, the Captain Sanders treasure is included, so that is included. Quests from one zone that are entirely completed within another zone are included in the zone where the action takes place. The example is Whiskey Slim's Lost Grog in the Hinterlands, because I believe you pick that one up in STV. I believe that's where you pick it up from. Now, generally, the majority of Hinterlands and Searing Gorge quests come from outside and go within, and here's a little bit of trivia for you. Those two zones, the level 45 zones being Hinterlands and Searing Gorge, were completely unfinished when actual World of Warcraft launched. They were just empty of any questing. The only questing you had was from external zones to go in. Then later, they're like, okay, let's go ahead and finish the zones, and they added in quests. Well, they were so lazy, they're like, go kill 45 of this, go kill 20 of those, go kill 30 of those. They were all literally just, go kill 50 fucking dwarves, I don't know. But that's why the quests in those zones are terrible. Anyway, key dungeon quests, especially if they're the end of a longer chain, are included. And a few quests that don't have geographic homes are excluded. So those are going to be like one-off quests that are not really meant to be anything of importance. That was a long one. Okay, so yeah, then they just talk about more of the questline stuff. For an example, the Beast of Barons describes the quest chain that begins in killing Planestriders and ends with killing Isha Awak. So that gives an example of, I don't think they have it pulled up here. Now, if you see the Beast of Barons, that's basically the name of a quest chain under the category of that achievement that you would need to complete. So I would never have guessed that's what it is, the Beast of Barons, just from the name alone. I would have just said it's the Isha Awak quest. Complete Isha Awak. You know what I mean? Because you can't complete Isha Awak without doing the quest chain, but everyone knows that quest if you've done Baron's quest. So I would say play around with the naming to make it so people understand and know what the quest is. Because it just makes it a little bit easier for veterans, because you know, whatever. Okay, and I believe this is the last part here. Yeah, this is pretty much the last part. So, creature AI overhaul. Now, what they talk about here is basically a lot of the coding from the core that they use. I actually don't know what core they use. Trinity core? Oh yeah, they use Trinity core. So, a lot of the various cores are built and coded from people who assumed or did research on what vanilla was like. Vanilla, TBC, Wrath, it doesn't matter. And they coded it in to make it seem as if it was Blizz-like. Now, a lot of it was assumptions or just educated guesses. Like, okay, well, it kind of does this, so I think I can code it to simulate this. Gummy from Felmis did an excellent explanation of this in one of his videos describing on how he's making his server more Blizz-like. I'll give the example in a second. But anyway, so that's basically what happens with all these cores. Now, Gummy and including these guys, what they're doing is going off of the, of course, old data that we have from actual old data, old video footage, and even the classic versions from Blizzard they have that to go off of to try to make it as Blizz-like as possible, fixing it around from how the original developers of the cores made it. So the example that Gummy used was the fight against Leothras the Blind, was that, I'm trying to remember exactly how he described it, but he has an attack that he'll spin around and do massive AoE damage. Now, I believe how it was said was, in the core that he's using, Leothras will select a player and head to that player, which made it very easy to avoid, because then that player just run and everyone goes away from that player. But in reality, it's supposed to calculate where the most amount of players are and bolt in that direction to try to hit as many as possible. And it can generally be random, but it will aim for where the most congregated players are rather than just where a random one person is. So he tried to I think that's how it went. It could be the opposite. I fucking forgot. But that's an example, right? So their example here is what creature is it? I think it's a Defias Wizard. So they were saying here how it's got, you know, these three abilities, and after so many seconds it does this, but then after so many seconds it instantly casts Fire Blast, and then it instantly casts Arcane Explosion, and it works off the tick system for the server, and it just doesn't feel right. So what they did was they calculated a formula for it to follow. Probability, chance to occur, the initial cast time, min-max seconds, repeat cast, internal cooldown, target type. So it has all this. You could definitely read through this if you're interested in the coding aspect of it. For people who coding goes right over their head, I understand a little bit, but in general, it just goes right over my head. Anyway, so if you would like to read this, please feel free to read the whole article. But for people who just want a TLDR, as I said earlier, it did it one way because the coders coded it as if to replicate how it was back in the day, but now with more information, more footage surfacing, the classic versions from Blizzard, we now have a better understanding of how it actually happened, so we are able to better replicate it, and that's what Project Epoch is doing for all, if not most, of the creature AI in the game. And the two different videos here is that one is from the original Trinity Core, and over here is their new one that they've developed to be more Blizz-like. And then right here is just an example of them fixing everything, and it looks like that is for Onyxia, so that's them fixing the Onyxia stuff. And then here's just a bunch of coding, which God help us all with reading this and translating it. No. Anyway, and then they have the conclusion. So that is the end. There's yelling in my house. That is the end of this video for the month of this developer update. Now, they do this every month, so be sure to stay tuned. Subscribe to me if you want to see more coverage of Project Epoch with their monthly updates. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to only get something once a month. Sometimes they drip feed information between the developer diaries, so there's still plenty more to talk about with Project Epoch, and of course we have another beta coming up soon down the pipeline. No ETA yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere at the end of the year, probably Christmas time. That's where I'm guessing. Nothing said for sure. But yeah, anyway, like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more Project Epoch. Also subscribe if you're interested in seeing other private servers, such as Azeroth at War. I've got Revelation WoW. I've got Duskhaven, which they're coming out with their Duskhaven 2.0. I talk a little bit of the Felmist. I talk a little bit of the Wallcraft. A little bit of this and that and this. You know what I mean. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.